Ferrari's latest is the GTC4 Lusso, a replacement model for the FF. Now one look at this car and you think, of course it's the facelift of the FF, but Ferrari designers assure us that everything on this car, everything that you see is brand new. So you've got this nice big panoramic roof, talk about that once you're inside, new flanks that are a little more muscular and pronounced. Even though the dimensions of the car stay the same, every piece of metal, the entire body is brand new. The only thing carried over from the FF is the windscreen. The GTC4 Lusso is more powerful, faster, roomier and more luxurious than the FF. It is truly more of a GT or Gran Turismo than the FF was. The GTC stands for Gran Turismo Coupé, which tells you the car's shape and draws on past Ferraris like the 330 GTC and GT and the 250 GT Berlinetta. 4 stands for the FF's 4 and adds a new one, that is the 4-wheel drive, the car being a 4-seater, and the new 4-wheel steering. And Lusso, Italian for luxury, because the idea was to make the new model more plush than the FF. The GTC4 Lusso is a car meant to be enjoyed over long distances, through twisty mountain roads and deserted highways without tiring the driver or passengers. And so let me tell you, that claim is mostly true. Now, interestingly enough, Ferrari says that it's added a new exhaust manifold which gives you this oh so beautiful sound. But the interesting part, it seems a lot of customers of the FF, they use this as a family car, believe it or not. And so, dropping off their kids to school, maybe getting to the supermarket, they don't really want to scare the other kids or other people around with a really loud, massive growl. And so, they wanted them to tone down the sound. Can you believe that? Well, believe it. So, at the extreme performance end of things, when you really get, into the higher RPM zone, the car screams with delight. But down, in the initial part of the performance zone, well, that's where there's been a software tweak done. So, for a longer time now, the car sounds a little more silent, which, I can't get my head around it, but believe it or not, that was done intentionally. I, on the other hand, am not one of those people who likes this car to be silent or quiet, and so, as soon as I go around this bend, Ooh. Oh, would you listen to that? That is just beautiful. And that's where we come to the whole aspect of the naturally aspirated engine. A lot of people thought that when they look for the replacement of the FF, it's going to once again, like the 488, go the turbo way. But Ferrari has opted to stay with the V12 and stay with a nice updated version of it. So you get 30 more horses, you get a little more torque, and interesting again that a lot of that torque, 80% of it, is available to you at just 1750 RPM. The car immediately starts to give you a sense of confidence as you begin to drive it more, almost urging you to push it harder. And that is mainly thanks to the 4-wheel steering. Now the big change between this and the FF is the fact that you've got 4-wheel steering now. Something new that's been added on, it was on the F12 TDF, but on the major car now is the first time that Ferrari is offering this. Now, what's the advantage? Well, really, the car just corners beautifully now. It takes the corners nice and tight. In fact, you can throw it in with a little bit more precision and push it that much harder, because what effectively happens when you're driving is you almost get a sense that you're driving a smaller car. Depending on the driving situation, the rear wheels will either turn with the front ones or away from them, thus countering both oversteer and understeer. Now, believe it or not, this car has a bumpy road mode. Yeah, wouldn't that be really apt for India? Well, I can tell you, of course, buyers in India will like that. What does it mean? Well, of course, Remember, this car is loaded with all sorts of technology and there's all sorts of electronics at work. The one that really matters in this particular case is the slide slip control. It's the 4th generation of this system now in this car, and it's attached to the dampers of the car, and it controls what happens with them, down to the millisecond, depending on the kind of inputs it's getting from the wheels. And so essentially it fiddles around and changes the feel of the car. Two very clear focus areas for the interior of the car, and the first is to make it more luxurious, to go with that Lusso name and justify it. So really nice leather, a very high-end design given to this car in comparison to the FF. And you can see that in the trim, the materials, the way it's all laid out. I have to say it is pretty exquisite. The second is to give the passenger a more involved feeling of a co-pilot, if you will. And so there's a little gimmick that comes with that. Let me first show you what happens when you turn the ignition on. Well, you got this little vent that goes up here now, and you've seen that in a few other cars before, so it's not something new, but yeah, it's a nice little touch. The second thing you have now on this car, which is new, is besides this nice big screen, Apple CarPlay with the Ferrari app on it, so that's nice too. And it integrates, of course, with your iPhone and lets you do everything that Apple CarPlay lets you do. Besides that is this little screen here now. You turn that on and essentially you got 4 options. There's the media or the infotainment, there's the navigation. You can also look at where the driver's Manatino is in terms of the dynamic setting, and you can look at the actual onboard performance at the time. So right now, of course, I'm in parking and I've got 0 on the odometer, but that's nice because it tells you what RPM you're driving at. It tells you, basically just gets you a little more involved. Is it a gimmick? Yeah. But is it different? For sure. Besides that, you've got updates on the main screen here as well, so there's a little more information you get on for the driver too. The cabin layout is very driver oriented still, but overall it gets to being more sensitive to the fact that this is all about passengers too. It's more comfortable in the back. There is enhanced legroom for the rear passengers as well, and added storage space, so more cubby holes like this one. The 10.25-inch touchscreen at the center of the dash is quite advanced and also includes Apple CarPlay now. The GTC4 Lusso has a 450-litre boot which can be expanded to an unbelievable 800 litres with the rear seats folded down. The GTC4 Lusso gets to India early next year and is expected to be priced at well over 4.5 crore rupees. The final price though will be confirmed only at the time of launch.